What's up, people? What's up? Dare I say that I'm back one more again? Dare I say that we're here for another live stream? Appreciate you folks for coming through. Appreciate you folks for being here in the mix, doing what it is that you do. You know, I've been hearing a lot of conversations about COVID-19 and the reopening of states. I think Georgia's going to reopen up soon. Places like Texas, other states that I probably can't bring to mind right now. It's late. And it just led me to thinking. I don't have a whole bunch of answers on this live stream. Shout out to the replay gang, the people that watch, in the replay. Appreciate you folks. Appreciate anybody that may come through. I understand the folks asleep or doing whatever they do or just trying to get through the hard times. But I start this live stream off with a question. And this question is not for me to answer. This is more of a question for you. How do you see human life? What is a life worth to you? What does it matter to you? What is the value of human life? I think it's an important question as we gather our thoughts, gather ourselves, as they slowly open up the economy and figure out what's going to happen and what's what and who's who and where things are going. So I asked that question to try to just get perspective from you, from anybody that may watch, from anybody that may see, in the replay. Because like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't want to tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you how you should look at this whole COVID-19 global pandemic outbreak. I don't want to put that on people. I mean, of course, there's an influence by me talking about COVID-19 and the different things that transpired. That's something that's going to happen. People are going to feel different ways. Also, too, I want to take another approach. I asked another question. Let's look at it from the other side. Let's look at it from the other side as far as, like, what if this whole thing is a hoax? What if it's a plot, a conspiracy? There's some people that believe that. And when you go there, you say, okay, it's a hoax or it's not real or there's a chance or an opportunity for it to become, to decouple the society or the herd, the culling of the herd, or to deal with population control. What do you tell the people, especially from a state where I'm from, that are seeing hundreds of deaths a day? What do you say to them? How do you begin to formulate that argument that the people dying, yeah, while it's serious and they're gone, this is not real? It's something that it becomes very interesting. Definitely there's a lot of misinformation. Definitely there's people scamming. Definitely there's things going on. Definitely there's an approach to this that begs for much to be desired. There's a lot left to be desired as far as how things were done or dealt with. You can point fingers. After this is all over, we'll get a chance to point fingers and do the whole political rallying and the cries and stuff like that. Unfortunately, some people have already began to politicize, this whole coronavirus pandemic, and it's become divisive. On one end, there's people saying liberate the states. On another end, they're saying people, maybe it's too soon. Maybe you want to think about this and look at facts and science before you start to begin to, just open everything up and go about it. There's some people that believe that, hey, it's not real. This is a hoax. This is something derived from, population control and the ability to try to manipulate and trick people. And, I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. Just curious as to what you believe, you the folk out there, you the viewer, you the people, you the folks that experience things. How do you feel about it? Which brings me, back around to what is a human life worth? If things were what they say they are, or if things are as bad as they seem, what is a human life worth? Is it more important to open the economy? Is it more important to make sure everything is up and running economically? Eggman Rocks, appreciate you for coming through. It just begs the question, it really does. What is a human life worth? And I ask that to you. It's 1348 all over again. Well, you have to put some more context with that, Eggman. But maybe 1348 in which country, in which time period. But for the most part, I just asked a question, just one question. I mean, I asked a couple of questions, but the main question, which is the driving theme of this one. What is a human life worth to you? How much does it matter to you? Yeah, the year. Okay, 1348. I had to go back through the historical documents because there's a couple of years that have actually, changed the course of history as far as plagues and different things that have happened and how we responded to stuff historically. Because the reference point that we have right now is 1918, 1917, 1918. The Spanish flu. Yeah, not as bad, maybe not as bad, Eggman. But I asked the question because there's a lot of people that are antsy that have cabin fever. There's a lot of people that are saying, okay, people are dying, but we have to worry about the economy. We have to look at what's going on and we got to get back to work. It's not that serious. I'm up here in New York and I could say whether or not I personally see the deaths, whether or not I personally know the people that are dying, when you have over 300-400 people dying a day, that kind of begs the question of whether or not, you should take notice of what's going on. And I get it. There's a lot of states, there's a lot of places where it's not as serious, it's not as big of an outbreak. It doesn't seem like it's something to pay attention to. But then you have to ask, what if it was your family? What if it was somebody close to you? What if it was you, affected by the fact that maybe folks may not take it as serious? So, like I said, I asked this question throughout the live stream. If you look back on it, what is a human life worth? How serious do you take this? And I ask that to you folks, the person, the viewer, the watcher, and the ones seeing this now, the ones watching it in the replay. What is a human life worth? How much does it mean? How important is it to have, economic, outcomes as opposed to, seeing what's going on, looking at the facts, looking at science? If you see or determine that it's not what it's supposed to be, then you make your determinations and your decisions from there. Or maybe you look at it as conspiracy theory. Maybe it is conspiracy theory. Maybe those people are dying, they're dying from something else. But what do you tell people? There's no simple answers to these questions. Sometimes the answers are so simple, you're looking at them and they're right there. But, like I said, I'll ask that question again. What is a human life worth to you? Some people may not want to hear that. Maybe this is not the most popular thing. Maybe this is not the sexiest thing to talk about, the most exciting thing to talk about. But when we have calamities, when we have situations that happen, especially somebody like myself who's come from New York, and you have 9/11, Hurricane Sandy, definitely this whole thing with the coronavirus. Things hit a different way here in New York. The deaths, they tend to stick a little harder. No human life, no jobs, no money. The rich get rich off of warm bodies, alive, not cold bodies, dead. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, Eggman. But sometimes people don't see it that way. Sometimes people say, why not take the chance? Why not take the risk? Let's, mitigate the responsibilities or mitigating circumstances. Let's look at it the way we look at it. What's good, Yaz Poet? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. I know you would definitely relate to this. I just asked, what is the value of a human life? It's a simple question. I'm not asking anything complicated. I know anybody watching this, I know anybody seeing this, whether you want to share it or not share it, whether you want to ignore that. If this gets in shot of your ear, if you hear this or see this anywhere, I just asked the question. What is a human life? What is it worth? Melanie, appreciate you. Thank you for coming through. Like I said, I'm not asking a complicated question, just asking a simple question. What is a human life worth to you? Because, like I said, I'm here in New York. It's like Melanie's here in New York. We hear the stories. We see the effect. Some of my family members and friends have passed away from COVID-19. Whether it was really COVID-19 or not, I know there's people that are not here with us anymore. I know it's a real thing that's going on. Other people may not be as affected by it. Maybe it's not as serious to them. Yeah. It's a simple question many don't want to face, Melanie. But it's a simple question that has to be asked by somebody. What is a human life worth? And honestly, I'm not asking you the question because I want you to answer me back. I don't have to put it in the comments. You don't have to share this video. You don't have to rewind the video. What's up, Mighty R? I just want people to think, when you look at this coronavirus, when you look at any other situation, when you look at any other catastrophe or anything that may not directly affect you, but affects humanity or the larger, broader scope, what is a human life worth? Because I could easily say, hey, you know what? It's not happening directly in my neighborhood. It's not happening directly in my town. Why should I be worried about this? Why should I care? Why should this affect me? I want to get back to work. I want to get the economy rolling. Somebody sent me a story about our president saying, I don't know if it's true or not, he wanted to inject people with disinfectant. Like, I don't know if that's true, but that is what it is. Because like Eggman said in the whole comments that he put out there, you can't make money off of cold dead bodies, unless you maybe work in a morgue or you're a funeral director, but that only goes so far. It's not going to help us if we don't take it seriously. It's not going to help us if we don't use the science, use the facts, look at what's going on, pay attention. And sometimes it's unfortunate that it has to hit so close to home before we actually begin to see how serious this is. There's so many wild conspiracy theories, and it's the government, and celebrities are being paid, and it's not real, and it's fake, it's this, it's that, it's that, it's this, it's that. There are videos about it. There are, maybe meetings behind the scenes. And like I said, all those things could possibly be true. But what I do know for fact, what I do know for truth in real time is that people are dying. Families are being affected. The way of life is being changed. So many things are different. And it doesn't look like we're going back to business as usual. So I ask again, what is a human life worth for you? I can rephrase it. How bad, how important is it for you to get back to quote unquote what's normal? Knowing that normal won't be the regular normal. Because here's how it goes. Maybe in one state somewhere in the Midwest, they're not adhering to the strict policies of social distancing and wearing masks. Maybe they're not. But it cuts a little different when somebody from another state where the infection rate is high and the death rate is high, or the death rate is in the hundreds and the thousands, right? And they come into your state. Now that person's from New York. Now we got to look at it some kind of way. But before that, before people got sick, before people started to die, before it became a situation, you didn't take it as seriously. I don't know what to believe. Everyone is saying different stuff. I'm just hoping for the best. Well, Mighty R, I'll tell you this. Coming from New York, I can tell you, people are really dying out here. Things are really going on. I don't get on here and start going into the records or telling people, but like what's happening day by day. But Melanie, she knows, other people know. Over 400 people died yesterday here in New York City. Here in New York City, in the 5 boroughs of New York City where I live. And that was the low number. That was the low number of people that died. Over 400 people. And then the number was coming down slowly but surely. So the number is coming down and the curve is flattening and stuff like that. And I told somebody on Facebook who lived in Missouri, I told him this a month before it happened. He was saying the same rhetoric about what was going on and what was happening, and it's not serious, it's a hoax, it's this, it's that. Then I told him something that he didn't pay attention to. I said, look, in your neck of the woods, in your part of the country, maybe it's not as many people there right now that are sick. I said, but there's no real travel restrictions or travel bans domestically. So somebody like myself, let's say I, Mel, catch COVID-19. Let's say I catch COVID-19. All those people that are living out there that come from different states, whether you're from Kentucky, whether you're from California, and I say California, school of California, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, let's say, you're Ohio, different states, Virginia, or whatever, and you don't have a high case rate. But I have COVID-19 and I'm asymptomatic. And I don't know, but I come out there and I'm around all these different people. Let's say I'm somewhere like Missouri. And then all of a sudden, I'm interacting with people and having contact with people, and people's immune system on weekend, or maybe they're in a nursing home, or they had a visit somewhere to somebody in a nursing home. And now this thing begins to spread, which it has, because a lot of it is spread because a lot of people may not be taking it serious, whether it's true or not, whether it's that or not. Let me see what Melanie's saying. A guy in my building thought it was a hoax. He believes he's here. In the elevator, yeah, and then something happened, so it's crazy. And like I said, back to the story of the guy in Missouri. He was telling me it wasn't real, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. Not only 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, in Missouri in his town. It became a hot spot in his town after we had that conversation. I don't know if he remembers it. I said it. I try not to do it. I say, sorry for, the cases and stuff like that that's going on in your town and in your county or whatever. But I told you, I said, people are not taking it serious. Maybe it's a conspiracy. Maybe there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. You could say yes to it all. Maybe there's some plot. Maybe there's something going on. You say yes to it all. But the question is, how much do you value a human life? How important is it for you just to get back to some type of normalcy, not knowing what is out there, not knowing the fact, or not paying attention to the fact, hey, Lama Master, not paying attention to the fact that there's no vaccine. And some people say the anti-vaxxers, maybe the vaccine to kill somebody, or, maybe, it's that. I mean, maybe, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, but what I do know is that people are dying. There's something serious going on. Maybe it's a little deeper, or a lot deeper than folks are really willing to get into or deeply understand. But sometimes our emotions get the best of us, and, find out the facts. Do your research, independently search. Listen, I'm all for it. If this is something else, if this is pneumonia, if this is the flu, if this is not what really is COVID-19 or whatever we call COVID-19 and it's something else, I'm willing to accept that as well. But the whole thing about actually getting back to work and not paying attention to what's going on and looking at the CDC and the World Health Organizations and the National Infectious Diseases and stuff like that, not understanding and looking at where they're coming from, it's interesting. That could be an ignorant approach. Definitely it can be. I guess that's my one takeaway if I had to make a judgment in this whole thing. It could be ignorant not to find out the facts, not to look at what's going on, not to say, hey, let me question this or question that. Question everything. I'm all for it. Question it all. Find out what's going on. Find out where it's coming from. But once you find out what you find out, here's where we are. This is why I come back to the question. Because there's a lot of people that can find out the truth. There's a lot of people who can investigate. We got internet and, we can get into all the nitty gritty of what's really going on behind the scenes. That's not the problem. There's a lot of information, misinformation, real information, stuff that can be deciphered and it can be known. That's not the real problem, though. The real problem, it comes down to, what do people think? How do you value a human life? All right, question everything and got to have facts. Yeah, mighty are. But see, here's where it comes. Here's where it comes down. There are people that have facts. There are people that have information. There's people that have studies. There's people that heard the press conferences. There's people that heard the rhetoric from the right wing, the left wing, from foreign, domestic, from the radical to the totally domiciled, to the peaceful or the peaceful, to the logical or the logical. It comes down to something different. What do you value? What do you hold dear? Because after we figure out all these different things, it does come to a point. How do you see human life? And there's a lot of people, you'd be surprised, with all the facts in front of them, with all the logic, with all the theories, with all the stuff that's there, with all of it presented there. There are people who just want to get back to work. There are people who don't care about the cost. There's places like countries like Brazil, they said it was just a little flu, just a little cold. Same like with Mexico, just a little flu, just a little cold. I understand. Some people just want to continue on, and if they die, they die. Like Rocky, there's a Rocky 4. If he like Drago's, like if he dies, he dies. If they die, they die. And the problem with that is, if they die, they die. But if you die, you die because you're not paying attention, because you're not looking at what's going on. Like I said, I have my concerns. I have my worries. I try not to, panic and be even killed, and look at stuff and see what's going on and try to figure out ways that I could actually move safely and move wisely and make decisions and choices. But the reality is there's things that are beyond my control. There's things out there that are beyond your control. There's possibilities that, there could be a community spread or infection that go on regardless of what happens. But when you're in the position to lobby, to push, to influence, you ask, what is a human life worth? Just make things right with the Lord, and that's all we need to do at the end of the day. Well, yeah, Melanie, There are definitely people that feel that way, to think that way, and then there's people that don't. And that's why I asked the question, what do you think of a human life? What is a human life worth to you? Because it says a lot about a society when, no matter what, we're worried about getting back to work, opening up the society, making sure that we get back to normal as quickly as possible. We're human beings. It is in our nature to abuse our resources. It is in our nature to abuse our resources. It is in our nature to err, to make mistakes. To err is to be to what is I think Shakespeare somebody said, to err is to be human, or to err is human. So I forget how the quote goes. But the point is, there'll be people that follow the rules. There'll be people that try their best to socially distance. There'll be people that'll do their best to try to make sure everything is copacetic, is kosher, is up to board. But then there'll be people who don't care. There'll be people who don't care either way. They don't care whether this is real. They don't care whether this is fake. They don't care. There are people that are apathetic. It's almost like the Dark Knight, with the Joker. Some people can't be reasoned with. Some people can't be bargained with. They can't be bought. They just want to watch the world burn. We don't talk about that. But there are folks out there like that. What do you do with that? Like I said, I'm not here to scare anybody. Just here to ask a question. And you don't have to answer the question to me. Shout out to the replay gang. Anybody got this far? Like I said, I'll repeat the question as many times. How do you see a human life? What is a human life worth? Is it more worth, it to, just say, hey, I screw it, or not? Yeah, 100%. You know how that goes, Melody. Like I said, I just posed the question just to try to make people think. That's why I did this live stream. I do all these other subsequent live streams, or the live streams that were there, or the ones that will come before, after, and all that stuff. Because I want people to think, have conversations. Just say, hey, look, I'm like this. If you don't care either way, if you think this is a hoax, if you think this is not real, and all the deaths and stuff that are happening all around the country, all around the world, or just some manufactured thing, then I get it. It's your right to choose whatever side that you feel in this whole pandemic global outbreak thing. But the choice that you make, or how you feel about a human life, says a lot about you. Says a lot about you as a person. Says a lot about me as a person. How we really see a human life, what we as a humanity ascribe to or claim to be. Because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of values, especially as Americans, that we claim to hold dear, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all men are created equal, and this one is gender neutral, and these life rights should be respected, and this is wrong, and that and that and that and that and that, and all these different things. But it becomes interesting to me when it comes to really the self-preservation, when it comes to almost a primalistic, nature. It becomes kind of funny when it becomes like, okay, you have states bidding against states for different, PPE, personal protective equipment. I'm worried about how the government values our lives. Well, I'm glad you brought that out, Llama Monster, because that comes into that too. Somebody's putting on your thinking cap right now. You get 10 points, Llama, 10 big points for you. That's what it comes to ultimately. When you look at the individuals, we the people make up the government, right? You didn't think I would get into the Constitution. Just briefly, we the people. We the people, the government, or we elect people to go into the government and they represent us, So this ultimately becomes a question. How we view human life becomes a representation of how our elected officials begin to, view human life. And that is a great question, Llama Monster. It's a great question, with a very even more interesting answer, because sometimes the question itself, is more scary than the answer. You'd be surprised because it brings you to an answer maybe you don't want to accept or get into. I know Melanie says something about that. It's a question people don't want to face, and that affects people. How does your government see it? How do people view? What's going on, Rock Truck? Appreciate you. My life is worth more than the government thinks it is. Woo. Yeah, it should be. Hopefully it is. Hopefully you value life, but also too, it comes into it. Of course, your life is valuable. My life is valuable. We know that. Everybody over here knows that. Our lives value. Some people say all lives matter. All that. Don't nobody kill me for that. Black community. I'm just putting it out there. Black lives matter. White lives matter. All the lives matter. Right. But the question is, how do you feel about those lives? How do you feel about other people's lives other than yourself? And that says a whole lot about us as a humanity. And the reason that's important is because based on how we view human life, not just our life, but other lives, that affects humanity, that affects society, that affects the future. This may seem like I'm just sitting here, I'm just spewing off questions and questioning the same question after question, and I'm just rambling and talking. I promise you I'm not. I promise you I'm not just rambling. There's a point to this all. How we act now and how we see each other now and how we view each other now, it actually plays a major factor into the future. It dictates a lot of things that are going to come. That's why people say, oh, okay, well, things are going to change and it's not going to be the way, it's not going to be the same. And the reason things are not going to be the same is because you will finally see, or you will begin to crystallize how people really view other lives, or how people sees human life, or how other folks may feel towards another person. Because then we have the ideals. We have the ideals of humanity and what humanity should be. But honestly, we have some ugly things that go on in this world. We have some ugly things that happen. We have some things that are downright despicable. We have some things that, it's almost shameful, that happens as a humanity, as a society. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to value human life. I'm not here to tell you what you should or you shouldn't do. That's your business. That's totally up to you how you value human life. Like I said, you could value life a little, you could value life a lot. But the choice says a lot about you. It says a lot about us. It's not easy. Sometimes, we judge folks. Sometimes we look at folks and say, hey, maybe that person isn't worthy. Maybe that person should stay over there, or those people are like this, or this one, is not on my level, or whatever. Whatever the terminology or the language that people use, whether it's racism, bigotry, homophobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, all the phobias that may exist, or all the fears and negativities that may be out there that people use to judge folks. And the reality is people do make judgments. Let's not sit here and play games. Some people may not want to face this, but we make judgments. We do. In this situation, I see others in a different light now more than before, I think for the better. People do rock truck. People do. People do think for the better. And kudos to you. Kudos to you. Peace, blessings and peace for you for thinking differently, for seeing people in a better light. We try to appeal to our better angels. But unfortunately, there's times when we don't. Our better angels don't prevail. Our better angels haven't prevailed in certain instances. There are situations where, it's every man for himself, every woman, every child, or whoever for themselves. Some people, it's kind of slick though, because nobody wants to come out and say it that way. Hopefully this opens everyone's eyes. Mighty R, here's the reality. It'll open a lot of people's eyes, but will it open everybody's eyes? Nah. Let's just keep it real. It won't. It won't. There's some people that'll be just as lost, just as confused as the day, as the day is new. Not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing where we're going to go, not knowing what's what, and which way is up, how you get out, how you got into it. Because some people don't want to know. It's like Melanie said, and she said fairly, some people don't want to face it. Some people don't want to see reality for what it is. Some people don't want to realize that regardless of how you feel about this thing, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. People are dying. Whether you believe they're dying for COVID-19 or not, yeah, Mighty R, that's just where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to be pessimistic or anything like that. There are people who will see the truth, who will know the truth, and then they look away. And then they look back. Oh, well, there it was. But there I am. And this is what this is. So like I said, again, how do you value a human life? Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Like I said, it's just my thoughts. Just me asking the question. All I do is ask the questions. This is more question than answer. This isn't me telling you what to think. But tell me, what do you think? You know, do you think the value of a human life, it's, what is it worth? You know. And on that note, thank you for listening. Be safe. Take care. Blessings and peace.